Hello, I'm Jim Coronado, President of the Travis County Bar Association for the year 2001-2002, and Travis County District Court Criminal Law Magistrate. I'm standing today in front of the Brizendine House, the first permanent home of our Bar Association in 1975. This documentary is the culmination of several months of research into the history of our bar beginning in the 1840s to the present day. The purpose of this documentary is to preserve the history and traditions of our Bar Association for future generations of lawyers. It will feature the memories and insights of 10 current Travis County Bar Association members whose contributions to our profession and to our community have made them living legends of the Travis County Bar. When Texas declared its independence from Mexico in 1836, the area now known as Austin was just a tiny settlement called Waterloo. It wasn't until 3 years later, in 1839, that the city of Austin was incorporated and made the capital of the Republic of Texas. In January 1840, Travis County was created and was placed in the 3rd Judicial District of Texas, presided over by District Judge John T. Mills. The 1840 census shows 4 lawyers living in Austin out of a total population of 806. Austin was still on the edge of the western frontier, and in 1841, the first county judge, James W. Smith, died after being scalped by members of a Native American tribe. The original Travis County Courthouse was a log cabin at the corner of 4th and Guadalupe. Later, a stone building was erected on the site. Local lawyers probably began holding informal meetings in the 1840s or 1850s. The earliest documented meeting of the city's bar occurred in 1859, when a memorial resolution was passed honoring a prominent state legislator, Oliver Cromwell Hartley. Texas had joined the United States in 1845, but in 1861, Texas seceded to become part of the Confederacy. Many prominent Austin lawyers served in the Confederate Army, and after its defeat, they were legally disqualified from practicing law for several years during Reconstruction. In spite of being barred from practicing, Austin lawyer Major Buck Walton was elected Attorney General of Texas in 1866. He was removed from office by U.S. officials because he was declared an impediment to Reconstruction. Slavery in Texas was officially abolished in 1865, and blacks were granted basic rights. By the 1870s, many of Austin's lawyers from its pre-Civil War days had returned to the practice of law, including Alexander W. Terrell, Alexander Stewart Walker, and Major Walton. The bar of the city again began to hold group meetings, usually at the courthouse. Newspaper postings called members of the Austin Bar, presumably all practicing attorneys in the city, to meetings to elect new judges and honor retiring and deceased judges. In 1882, the Voluntary Texas Bar Association, the first statewide association of lawyers, held its inaugural meeting in Galveston. In 1883, the University of Texas was founded in Austin. An undergraduate law degree from the Department of Law took 2 years, but students could test out of 1 year's coursework. As a result, all 13 members of the university's first graduating class in 1884 received Bachelor of Law degrees. At the time, a degree was not required to practice law. Many lawyers were licensed to practice after studying or reading law under an experienced attorney. The first woman enrolled at UT Law in 1906, and the first women law graduates came in 1914. African Americans, however, were barred from attending public schools with white students, and in 1885, an application to the university by a black student was rejected. It would be 65 years before the first African American student was admitted to study law at UT. On a local bar level, the earliest known document to use the name the Bar Association of Travis County is a memorial resolution on the death of Judge A.J. Peeler, dating from 1886. Named in that document is the first known Travis County Bar Association committee, the Committee on Resolutions, chaired by Judge A.S. Walker. Newspaper reports often mention Judge A.W. Terrell as a chair of the early meetings of the Austin Bar. Despite this, in the 1880s, the association had no standing officers or regular meeting times. The first evidence of a formal association of Austin lawyers appears in the 1893 Austin City Directory. The Austin Bar Association is listed as a miscellaneous society with a founding date of 1890 and a membership of 40. Meetings were subject to call by Association President John Dowell. Dowell is the first known president of the local bar association. Dowell came to Austin as a young man in 1869, where he married and moved into a house on East 2nd Street. He was the nephew of wealthy Austin resident George Littlefield, who donated much of his personal fortune to the University of Texas. Dowell was president of the Bar Association from 1893 until 1908. A colorful character, Dowell had several brushes with law enforcement. In 1908, he started a gunfight with another lawyer in the lobby of the Driscoll Hotel. He was tried in the court of District Judge George Calhoun and was sentenced to 2 years in prison. While out of jail on bond in 1909, Dowell was charged with lunacy for bringing a loaded shotgun into a district courtroom and then threatening the life of Judge George Calhoun. At his trial, Dowell claimed to be drunk at the time of the incident, not insane. The jury found Dowell to be of unsound mind, but did not place him in an asylum. John Dowell passed away 8 years later, but his son George Shelton Dowell was a respected member of the Austin Bar from 1906 until his death in 1957. John Dowell was succeeded by Major Buck Walton, who became the second president of the Austin Bar Association in 1909. Austin's first African-American lawyer, James F. Dawkins, is listed in the city directory starting in 1906 and was one of the first black attorneys in the state of Texas to appear in the Martindale-Hubbell Law Directory. Not only an attorney, Dawkins was also a teacher at one of the first black public schools in Austin, the Olive Street School. In 1917, Mexican citizen Miguel R. Cardenas became the first Hispanic graduate of UT Law, but never practiced in Austin. The first woman to practice law in Austin was Anna Irene Sanbo. Miss Sanbo obtained her Master's of Law degree from UT in 1916 and worked for the Board of Law Examiners before entering into private practice with her husband. After her husband's death in 1925, Miss Sanbo took over their Austin law practice, which she continued for almost 40 years. Miss Sanbo also taught an early bar exam prep course for many years. In 1926, the local bar association's name officially changed from the Austin Bar Association to the Travis County Bar Association, with the publication of the first known constitution and bylaws. Prior to this time, bar meetings were subject to call at the county courthouse, which from 1875 until 1930 was known as the Walton Building, named for Major Buck Walton and located at the corner of 11th and Congress Avenue. The new Constitution called for regular meetings, annual bar dues of $2.50, and 5 bar committees. The stated purposes of the association were to promote social intercourse among its members and to cultivate the sense of duty owed by every lawyer to his clients, the courts, and the country. The 1926 Constitution restricted association membership to white persons only, a reflection of the widespread racial segregation of the times. The Great Depression brought hardship for the entire country in the 1930s. Travis County Bar Association's current oldest living past president, Gaynor Kendall, had graduated from UT Law in 1932 and was glad to have a job with the Attorney General's office.
Austin, being the seat of government, had experienced less effect from the Depression than most places. Actually, you were lucky to live in Austin at that time, although things were pretty tough. I started out working for $125 a month in the Attorney General's office, and then lucky enough to get promoted while I was in my first year still. And so I did better during the Depression than I would have anywhere else in Texas.
A new Travis County courthouse was opened in 1931 at the corner of 10th Street in Guadalupe. Austin native Mace Thurman Jr. began his studies at the University of Texas in 1934 when the cost of enrollment was about $40 per semester.
I found me a job in the theaters as a movie usher, which was the best job in town when I was going to law school. The reason it was the best job in town because it was probably the only air-conditioned job that anyone had, and all you had to do is stand up and show people to their seats. I got about $10 and I think 80 cents a week, and believe it or not, at times I lent some money to some of the students going to law school.
Thurman was elected Travis County Justice of the Peace in 1941. By the time of his retirement from the State District Court in 1990, Judge Thurman had served more years on the bench than any other judge in the state of Texas, and had seen many changes in county politics and the judiciary.
When I was first in politics, the only party in Travis County was the Democratic Party. And all judges were Democrats. If you weren't a Democrat, you'd get one vote. You wouldn't get any, that was yours. Then the Republican Party started growing, and then we had the Republicans and the Democrats. And I think that's unfortunate as far as the judiciary is concerned. I don't think we should run as Democrats or Republicans. I think you should vote for the best man for the position. And because of the feature that we have, as you know, some people have got into office that aren't as qualified as they should be, I'd say. And I hope someday we'll be able to change that, where judges will not run as Democrats or Republicans.
World War II began in 1939, the same year that the State Bar of Texas was founded. Many current and future UT law students served their country in the military and were eager to complete their studies once the war ended.
It was busy, big classes, lots of veterans in school under the GI Bill, which provided tuition and a monthly payment. And it was hectic. Good professors, rather prominent professors, but it was crowded. It was in that building on 21st Street at Speedway and 21st, just east of where the fountain is.
Hume Cofer graduated from UT Law in 1949, was licensed and joined the Travis County Bar Association right away, which had expanded to include 11 committees, not all of them active.
It was mostly a social organization, mostly a luncheon club. It had committees, but the committees were not very active. I think sometimes the committees didn't meet. The resolutions committee would meet when someone died, but the committees were not very active.
Mary Pearl Hall also graduated from UT Law in 1949 and was honored with being named Portia of the Law School. At the time, the future judge Mary Pearl Williams was one of only 10 women in her class at UT. As early as 1939, one of the most important social events held by the Travis County Bar Association was the annual barbecue in Zilker Park.
Judge Roy Archer used to have barbecues once a year for us, and he would do the cooking, and we would all go to these barbecues.
The Austin Junior Bar Association, now the Austin Young Lawyers Association, was founded in 1958. In the 1940s and 1950s, the Travis County Bar was a small collegial association with only a handful of women members and no African American members. The first known Hispanic lawyer to practice law in Austin was Patricio Mendez, who was licensed in 1947. Mendez was not known to be a member of the Travis County Bar Association. His wife, Consuelo, was the first Mexican-American teacher in the Austin Independent School District, and Mendez Middle School is named in her honor. David Longoria, licensed in 1949, 2 years after Mr. Mendez, is the first known Hispanic member of the Travis County Bar Association. Kenneth Lampkin was the most prominent African-American lawyer in Austin during the 1940s. He was a part of the legal team which represented Heman Marion Sweat in his lawsuit against the University of Texas School of Law. The 1950 U.S. Supreme Court decision in Sweat v. Pena allowed African Americans to enroll at UT Law for the first time in the school's history. The first black graduate of the law school was Austin native Virgil C. Lott. Travis County Bar Association member Gaynor Kendall had become a part-time law professor in 1949 and remembers Lott as one of his students.
He being the first student, first black student I'd had, or been in school with even. I did encourage Virgil to go back to his hometown and show him that he could do as good a job representing people as any other student graduating out there. There wasn't any difference in the ability of people to work in law.
Virgil Lott applied for admission to the Travis County Bar Association after his graduation in 1953, when J. Chrys Dougherty served on the board of directors.
Virgil Lott, who was a black man, had just, I believe, graduated from the University of Texas and applied for membership with the Travis County Bar, along with other groups of people that applied that year. And so his nomination came before the membership committee, and I, at that time, saw no reason, that was just another person that applied for membership. I pointed out and let him in, but one of the leading members of the bar at that time said he would not vote for it, and that as long as he lived, he would never vote for a black man to be a member of the Travis County Bar. As a matter of fact, at that time, the rules of the Travis County Bar said that it was its membership was open to white lawyers only. And in later years, before it was corrected, it was honored in the breach, but that was several years later. But Virgil was not allowed to become a member.
In 1965, a year after the U.S. Congress passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Travis County Bar Association Constitution was amended to eliminate the requirement that members be white.
When the bylaw provision was discovered in 1965, and it was a discovery, no members, I was on the bar board of directors at that time, and no member of the board had realized that there was such a provision in the bylaws. When it was discovered, we decided that it needed to be amended. And there was a rumor that some of the older members opposed the change, but I think I never did encounter one, and I know that no such member came to the bar lunch. We spread a rumor that only the old lawyers were opposing it, and so nobody was willing to admit that he was an old lawyer. And the amendment passed unanimously at a bar meeting at the courthouse in one of the big courtrooms.
Also in 1965, Virgil Lott was temporarily appointed to the City of Austin Corporation Court during the week-long absence of another judge. Lott became the first African American to preside as a judge in Travis County. It was a year later, in 1966, that Harriet M. Murphy began her studies at UT Law. Fully aware of the difficulties faced by other black students who had come before her at the law school.
I met one who came back one semester, and she just couldn't bring herself to take examinations. And she was one of those blacks who felt that she was carrying the burden of all of these on her back, and that she had to prove that black people could succeed. But as I said, I was determined, and I said it in the lounge one day, but I told one of the students sitting there that I am not carrying the burden of 25 million blacks on my back. I have just as much right to make F's as anyone else in law school. And I think that is what carried me through. I didn't have those psychological problems that many of those blacks experienced.
In September 1973, Harriet Murphy was made a relief judge at the Austin Municipal Court, becoming the first African-American woman appointed to a regular judgeship in Texas. She became a full-time judge in 1976 and was made presiding judge in 1992. Judge Murphy helped found both the Austin Black Lawyers Association and the Travis County Women Lawyers Association. 9 months earlier, in January 1973, Mary Pearl Williams had been appointed to fill an unexpired term at the County Court at Law bench, making her the first woman judge to preside in Travis County. Not long after she was appointed, Judge Williams decided to make a procedural change in the court, upsetting some local bar members.
When I first got up there on the county court at Law bench, they would pass the case. I was a collection agency. I'd say, how would you like to plead? How do you want to dispose of the case? We'll pass it, Your Honor. Okay, pass it. Next month, pass it. I announced that we were going to not pass those cases like that anymore. And Chrys Dougherty, who was then the chairman of the Travis County Bar, came and whispered at one of the bar meetings because they asked me to explain the changes I've been making. And so I said, Chrys, he said, you're going to be voted down. We're going to recommend that everybody, we're going to commend you for your changes, but this is the largest number of criminal lawyers we've ever had. They never come to these meetings. Sure enough, the time came, and I stood up and I said, I wish I could take credit for these changes I've made, but I can't. I got them from the American Bar Association's guidelines on how to do something. Somebody said, I move we commend Judge Williams on these changes. And it was voted down. So a reporter came out and said, well, Judge, the bar has voted down your changes. What are you going to do? I said, well, they're advocates, and they're entitled to their opinion. But I'm the judge of County Court at Law Number 2, and I'm going ahead with the changes.
Judge Williams was elected judge of the 53rd District Court from 1981 until 2001. She was the first woman in Travis County to become a district judge, and she now serves as a visiting judge. In 1966, both the Legal Aid and Defender Society of Travis County and the Lawyer Referral Service were created by the Travis County Bar Association. Originally, Legal Aid and Lawyer Referral worked together, referring both paying and indigent clients to lawyers. In 1973, Travis County Bar Association President William Hilgers served on the board of the Legal Aid Society and has seen federal and state funding for legal aid decrease in recent years.
Travis County Legal Aid and Defender Society was a separate entity that had been created during the so-called War on Poverty, and I'd been on that board. And well, legal aid still exists, but it exists in a different format. At that time, that was a separate corporation, nonprofit corporation, the Travis County Legal Aid and Defender Society. And it was some funds were provided by the federal government through the War on Poverty program to help fund it. That grew and expanded and is still in existence in a much reduced way, but budget cuts have cut back on it a lot. The legal aid has been curtailed and reduced and cut back many times to where it's almost non-existent in many cities. Even recently, the Travis County Legal Aid Office was merged with an office in the Valley, which means that the resources in Travis County are going to be further reduced.
The Travis County Bar Association offices currently house volunteer legal services, which also matches indigent clients with attorneys. In 1969, during the term of Association President Hume Cofer, local bar luncheons began to take on a more educational emphasis.
And that year I was president, I was a little bit dissatisfied with the luncheon programs. I appointed a program chairman who felt that lawyer education was the coming thing. He turned out to be right. Continuing legal education is a big thing now.
Hume Cofer went on to be elected judge of the 98th District Court in 1977. The first Travis County Bar Association pictorial was begun in 1970 during the term of Association President Lloyd Lochridge and was completed 2 years later by the hard-working Robert Duke. In 1975, Travis County Bar Association began leasing its first official headquarters, the historic Brizendine House, located just west of the county courthouse. By this time, the Lawyer Referral Service had become independent of legal aid. LRS was the first organization to set up an office in the Brizendine House. Travis County Bar Association's first executive director, Carol Leggett, was hired and moved into Brizendine in 1977. Prior to that time, TCBA had no official headquarters. Administrative tasks were handled by the association's longtime secretary-treasurer, Jerome Smith. In 1977, a Supreme Court ruling held that states could not ban lawyer advertising under the First Amendment doctrine of commercial speech. The Supreme Court ruling was met with disappointment by many longtime Austin lawyers, including Lloyd Lochridge, who had just finished his term as president of the State Bar in 1975.
It was very unbecoming for lawyers to advertise, and it was not a good way for people to find lawyers. There had to be better ways for the public to find lawyers. So I had no enthusiasm for it from the beginning, and still don't have any. It's the idea that we're a profession and not a business. There's something to being a professional, and that is you have standards for admission and for conduct. And I think while businesses do have ethics and so forth, or should have, I don't think that they've ever been as high as lawyers' ethics, and I think it takes away from some of that.
Also in the late 1970s, the suggested minimum fee schedules published by the State Bar and TCBA since the 1950s came under criticism. Chrys Dougherty, who was president of the TCBA in 1976 and president of the State Bar of Texas in 1979, dealt with the issue during his term as immediate past president of the State Bar in 1980.
The matter came up at the American Bar, and same issue. We argued at the same issue at the American Bar, and I appeared before the Federal Trade Commission, arguing for that the State Bar fee was not a restraint in trade. It was merely a suggestion to lawyers as to what ought to be charged. Well, there was so much to do about it that, as a matter of fact, either that year or the next year, the bar simply decided wasn't going to insist on it, and it quit doing it.
By the 1980s, Austin had grown into a larger town with many more lawyers. Legal specialization and improved office technology changed the practice of law in Travis County. TCBA was growing and becoming more diverse as well. Austin Lawyers Care was founded in 1981. In 1984, Delane Ward was hired as the new TCBA executive director. A year later, in 1985, the association's first woman president, Karen R. Johnson, was elected.
There were 1,000 lawyers back then in '85 when I was the president of the Travis County Bar, and we had two sections. It was family law and criminal law, and that was the year that we upgraded our computers. We were the first metropolitan bar association to have, well, most any bar association to actually have a computer. I think as somebody as professional as Delane got there and could help on a full-time basis to do the kinds of things we did, which was to get the computer system going and start getting sections and really making it a professional association, that was the real exciting thing, and to start doing some projects and things like the senior lawyer luncheon. Of course, it really took off after that.
In 1990, Hispanic lawyer Richard Pena became the first minority president of the Travis County Bar Association. The Bar Association moved into new offices in the Chase Bank building, added more staff members, and began holding the annual Bench Bar Conference.
I think the Travis County Bar is a major player. The Travis County Bar has become a major player in the state and in the country with its leadership, with its programs. I remember when I was president in 90 that we didn't have a bench bar. That was the first year that we had a bench bar conference, and then other cities would have it caught on, and so everybody else started to have a bench bar. Travis County Bar is a leader in the state, always winning awards at the state bar level. Always. It's unusual if we didn't win an award. My year was the first year we did a president's page. We developed a newsletter, things of that nature. But I'm now active in ABA activities, and I know local bars throughout the country, and I can guarantee you Travis County Bar is a good bar.
In December 2000, the new Travis County Blackwell-Thurman Criminal Justice Center opened, named for Judges Tom Blackwell and Mace Thurman. In 2002, Travis County Bar Association has a $1 million budget, 6 full-time staff members, 18 committees, 20 sections, and almost 4,000 members. The Bar Association produces a regular newsletter, holds continuing legal education events, coordinates community service projects, and facilitates numerous social gatherings. Since our Bar Association began over 160 years ago, our community has grown from 800 people to over 800,000 people. Our association from fewer than 5 attorneys to over 4,000 attorneys. We've evolved as an association in this period of time from a social organization to a group of dedicated men and women who have dedicated themselves to improving their profession and their community. Sir Walter Scott spoke best about the lessons of history when he said an attorney without knowledge of history or literature is a mere mechanic, a mason. But if he has knowledge of these things, he can deem himself an architect. With that thought, let us go towards the future to build an even greater bar association.